we've underrated the T-Wolves because anyone who's been paying attention all year knows that this Suns team was woefully unequipped roster-wise to be able to be a strong presence in this playoffs. They just were. And with the Timberwolves, they are a team. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. It's almost an indictment on that sort of desire to have a big three superstar culture in the NBA. There aren't a lot of big threes around the league anymore. It really is a duo kind of league again. And that is because teams have realized that except in exceptional circumstances, with the way the salary rules are, you are better off having a couple big stars, but a full, complete team. And Anthony Edwards was pretty funny going into these playoffs. He said, they have KD, but we have Jaden McDaniels, right? And it's sort of, okay, Ann.
Well, guess what?
But guess what?
Yeah.
Jaden McDaniels got it done last night, and Kevin Durant did not look as involved as you would want him to, especially in the second half. And I just think that he knows. He's a vet. He understands what they have and what they don't have, and they do not have enough. It is striking when you watch this Suns team. And look, all season, 30th in terms of fourth quarter offense, which is just bonkers, right? Turnovers, they're in the bottom sixth, fifth of the league in turnovers and things like that. So I just think that they are not a complete enough team. We knew that going into this series, and it was the Timberwolves we weren't paying close enough attention to, because if you look at their defense, number one defense in the league, I think the defensive player of the year, and you have Ant, who's sort of the young up-and-coming superstar, Jordan-esque, can we say? Not Michael Jordan.
I'll give you esque.
But young Jordan-esque, as we've talked about on this show. And what I really was impressed with Ant last night, too, was even though they were really putting the screws to him defensively, even though his shot wasn't falling, he was still impacting the game in other areas.
Agreed.
And a lot of young players don't do that. And the fact that he did that was another place that we can say, okay, this was the Wolves winning more than the Suns losing, but it was also something that shows us what the Suns roster is missing, and they're missing so much, Key.
No, I never underestimated the T-Wolves. I felt like that they would go back to Phoenix up 2-0.
Okay.
I felt like that, especially after game one, because of the size, the length, getting Karl Anthony Towns back, although he got into foul trouble a little early last night and had to take a little seat for a little bit. And Ant-Man didn't shoot it well at all. But you mentioned, Rachel, you say, hey, he did other things. When you don't sit there and feel pity for yourself when you're not playing well and you find other ways to contribute to your team, you're going to have success. That's just the reality of it. I think when you start talking about the three guys, I was as excited as anybody as an NBA fan when Bradley Beal came over in the trade. I'm like, oh, okay, they got something. But then as time went on, they're missing a point guard, somebody to facilitate, somebody to run the offense through. Because if you really look at all three of those guys, they're all kind of duplicates of each other. Even though you look at Kevin Durant and his length and things like that, Bradley Beal is a little less than Booker. Booker's a little less than Kevin Durant. But they all want to score. They all want to put the ball in their hands and they want to score. There's nothing there from that. Then defensively, they don't have a true rim protector from a defensive standpoint.
No.
I mean, I know Nurkic is everybody wants him to be Joker because of their Joker relationship. And they're like, oh, he can be Joker.
They were briefly teammates.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, but Denver made the right decision, right?
They got Joker to be Nurkic's backup. I mean, that's pretty funny when you think about it now.
And so I think you're looking at it as, okay, well, this team is trying to figure things out. Now, are they going to get back to Phoenix and win a game? Yeah, I think they get home and they win a game.
I agree.
The one guy in all of these playoffs, though, that I feel sorry for, as I said, Rachel, is Kevin Durant. And all of the playoffs, all the teams, I just feel bad for him because if it doesn't end well this year, I can only hear it start. I can just hear it in the summer, and I just feel bad for him because he does not deserve what's getting ready to come his way if the Phoenix Suns somehow can't defeat Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I got it. So I told you yesterday, and by the way, you did love the Suns to start the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think many people did. Just looking at those three, you just figure, like Rachel said, three superstars. Okay, there's no way they can lose.
Okay. So I told you yesterday, just out of respect for Kevin Durant's legacy and greatness, I said, I'm going with him tonight, but he's going to have to rise above this game and take it over the way he used to, such as that Game 7, now it seems like 10 years ago, it wasn't that long ago, when he was in Brooklyn against Milwaukee, which was a masterpiece of a game until overtime when he did run out of gas in overtime. But up until then, he was unstoppable. And if his, little toe hadn't been on the line, that would have been a different conversation. Mm-hmm. But the point is, I kept waiting last night. Go, just go, just go. And he was okay. He was pretty good. He certainly wasn't bad, but he wasn't KD that took over 2 game threes in back-to-back years in LeBron's house in the NBA Finals. He doesn't seem to have that gear anymore that he can shift into a 5th or a 6th or a 7th gear where you just say, well, that's just too good. He'll do it in little spurts, but I don't see it wall to wall anymore like I used to. So he's not a nuclear difference maker, even though he's clearly the best player on their team. But, I'm a big fan of Bradley Beal, but then I looked back last night after the game at his list of injuries that he's gone through. He is just, it's been one thing after another, and it's taken a lot out of him. He's not that dude anymore. He's not the Bradley Beal that used to be capable of 50 or 60 or 70 points. And then Book, I love his fire, but now he just gets frustrated because he's got an identity crisis. Well, who am I? Am I supposed to orchestrate? Am I supposed to pass the basketball? What am I supposed to be? Do you want me to score or not?
Give it to the other team.
Yeah. Well, he gave it to him 6 times last night because
the whole team is a turnover.
Yeah. But he's not sure. He had 6 turnovers to 5 assists. Well, you're going to lose at Minnesota if you do that. If you are the quote unquote point guard, who's also the shooting guard, and the best shooter on the floor is Devin Booker, and he didn't get many shots. He got 13 shots up, and KD got 15, and Bradley got his 17 shots, but it wasn't enough. And then in the fourth quarter, it looked like they might going to make a run, and each of them made 1 shot in the fourth quarter. It's just not, it's not good enough.
You got 19 turnovers. Yeah. Put it this way.
Yeah.
In any sport, if you turn the ball over in football, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 19 turnovers in basketball, you're going to lose. If you have 3 or 4 errors in baseball, guess what? You're probably going to lose.
But that's this team and the way it's constructed.
Yeah.
The way this team is constructed right now, they will never win a title, period. Like, there's no question about that. And in fact, we sat here maybe a month ago when they were going into their really home stretch of the season, and I said, I don't think they're going to win a round of the playoffs. And I certainly feel that way now still. Yeah. I think they could win a game. They could even win 2 games of this series, but they're not winning 4 of the next 5. They're just not. And the person to blame for this is the same thing that we see happen in city after city after city. A new owner comes in and thinks, I've got it, I can do it, I know how to win a title.
Well, he did play basketball for Tom Izzo at Michigan State.
Well,
We're talking about Matt Ishbia. Yeah.
I understand. And I'm not, look, I think Matt Ishbia has
Well, no, that's fine. He's done well in his career and his life. That's cool.
Has the potential to be a really strong owner eventually, because I think that he has a passion for the game. He's willing to spend money. He supports his team. I love what he's done with the media rights deals there and everything. So this is not a Matt Ishbia is terrible.
Business. That's nothing to do with on the court.
But that's what ownership is supposed to be, right?
Yeah, all business.
And let your basketball people do the basketball.
Exactly.
And instead, we see over and over again with new owners, they come into the NBA and they know best and they know what to do. He comes in days of being approved, the Kevin Durant trade happens. Yeah. I would have traded for Kevin Durant. I think if you have the chance to trade for Kevin Durant, you trade for Kevin Durant. But you do not follow that up with the Bradley Beal trade, because you then look at KD and Book and the fact that you've had to gut your team just to get KD, and the only thing you should be thinking about after that is what role players can I put around the 2 of them to make this a functional team. And instead, he went for the bright, flashy object in Bradley Beal.
Keyshawn would have gone for it too, I'm pretty sure.
Going for what?
For Bradley Beal.
Well, you should not buy an NBA team.
I probably wouldn't have gone for Bradley Beal because
But your eyes lit up at the first of the year, right?
Well, because you see the 3. I don't know what else they're going to do. All I know is they got 3. What else is around them? Because remember, they got to go and do all these swaps and trades, and things are happening with other teams. I personally would have never got rid of DeAndre Ayton. That's just me. Okay? That's just me.
Even though he and the former coach felt completely
But guess what, though,
apart.
Coach? The coach
They're
ain't
both
there.
gone.
So why would I get rid of the player? The coach ain't. The one that he had the problem with is not there.
Keyshawn, you know that's not the problem. The problem is they don't have a point guard. It's exactly
No, I understand. I understand that.
It's not who's at center.
But I was saying
that they don't have a ball handler point guard to make.
No, I understand. I was going to get there, though, Rachel. I was going to say, and I probably wouldn't have got rid of Chris Paul. even though the flow slowed down.
Yeah.
But that's
Hey.
because everything is new. You got a new coach now. Let the new coach come in here, work with CP3, figure out DeAndre Ayton. The coach is gone, and they couldn't get on the same page, benching him, bringing him in, talking to him crazy, new changes. Doesn't matter. I got Book, I got the big, I got Kevin Durant, I got CP3, and then I'll figure all the rest out. That's what they should have done.
Listen, we all know Chris is on his last legs, or what. He did not look like Chris Paul with the Warriors this year, but he was not a good fit. He was the perfect fit for this team last year, even in his advanced stages of his career. And I remind you, in Game 2 at Denver in the playoffs last year, they had the Nuggets on the ropes in the third quarter, and right on schedule, he pulls his hamstring, because he always pulls his hamstring.
But what are you asking Chris Paul to do? You're not asking Chris Paul to go Lob City Clippers. You're not asking Chris Paul to be Houston Rockets.
Okay.
That's not what you're asking him to do. You got other players for that.
When he was dared to make threes, he made threes.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah, but that's only a handful. That's good for us. We're not asking you to put up 18 shots.
No.
By the way, it doesn't have to be Chris Paul. It could be any.
Well, so the reason I say Chris is because he was already there. Yeah, he was already there.
But if you're management and you're like, man, the injury history, to your point, and he's getting older, and the salary and all of that stuff, that's fine. You have to replace him with a good point guard.
Okay.
And not doing that is just mind-blowing to me.
Now to role players. I know Grayson Allen is not, first team All-NBA, but he's a decent NBA player.
He hurt his ankle last night, though.
Okay,
it was a nasty.
All right, and it was nasty. I understand. But Grayson Allen, look this up before the show, 7 times this year in 7 games, he made 8 or more threes. He led the NBA in three-point shooting. And all of a sudden, they're not featuring him anymore in these games because they're going more to Eric Gordon because he's been there and done all that. And they added Royce O'Neal, and they like his physicality a little bit more on the defensive side. So Grayson Allen's sort of fallen out of not out of the rotation. He still starts, but he's 1 of 5 from 3 so far in 2 games. He did hurt his ankle, but I'm saying they haven't featured. They're not moving the ball to Grayson Allen the way they used to.
Prior to that, though, to get to the 6th spot, look at his numbers then after he got paid.
Well, now that's a whole nother issue.
You just look at all I'm saying is just look at his numbers.
He got paid.
He got his money, then all of a sudden his numbers just disappeared.
Well, he got hurt in the first game.
No, even I'm saying go back before we even started the playoffs.
It's like a week, right? Didn't he get his contract like a week before the end of the season?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but then those games that they had, but the games they played in, those 2 or 3 games they played in, he was the shell of it, what he was originally.
Okay. Wow. Now back to the T-Wolves. You brought up Jaden McDaniels. He's becoming a thing. Like, I'm not saying he's a star, but
quality.
He was the best player on the floor last night. He dominated on both ends of the floor. He's 6'9". He can jump out of the gym, and he can shoot it. So he makes 10 out of 17 shots. Well, that was the best on both teams. That nobody had that kind of game with 25. And it had huge impact on the game because he had star quality last night against a big 3 team. And
he wasn't afraid of KD at all.
He's just not afraid. And he can sort of match him in length and okay. And then you both brought up Anthony Edwards. So I get the 3 for 12. That's not great. But then I keep going across to the other columns, and he's got 8 assists, to Rachel's point again. And he's got 3 steals, and I remember the block. I think it was on KD. He got him from behind. Well, okay, you did that and that and that. He's got star quality.
High energy effort guy that finds other ways to be involved to contribute to a team.
Yeah, they haven't had that before. That's been a missing ingredient for them. They've always looked like this sort of slow team to me. They play defense, but they can't really score. And now that he's emerging, all of a sudden, I think the opponents look over and say, wait a second, they got that guy, and he is Jordan-esque, young Jordan-esque. And all of a sudden, they have arrived, and they look like a force to me. Because when you can defend at the level they do, they just make it a long night for everybody.
And Rudy Gobert is underrated, which is crazy to say about
like
someone.
you.
I know, but I
lot of people
get it. A lot of
just
people
don't
don't
like
like him. And look, he's about to win his 4th Defensive Player of the Year, and people are up in arms about that because that ties Hakeem Olajuwon and Ben Wallace for the most ever, and they don't think he's in that category. And he might not be, by the way, but you can only play the guys in the league that are in the league when you're in the league. Hakeem's not in the league right now.
When I was looking at him last night, he made people change their shot trajectory a few times. So I guess I was saying as I was sitting there, I said, oh, maybe that's why he's the MVP of the Defensive Player of the Year.
He had a stellar game. And I just think that because he's quirky. I mean, he himself will tell you that he is odd, a little bit odd. He's different. He got that soft reputation when he was tearing up because he didn't make the All-Star team and all of that stuff. But the biggest thing is that, look, the NBA is like high school in a lot of ways, right? It's like a high school cafeteria. And you've had some of the big popular kids picking on Rudy Gobert, and so everybody
Mean girls, huh?
Well, look, Draymond Green and Shaq have been merciless about Rudy Gobert.
They have. Yep.
And so the rest of the league kind of is like, that sort of thing. But you cannot argue with what this guy does on the court.
It just doesn't seem like, I don't know. It's just, I know he's been productive on the defensive end, and like you said, Rachel, last night, offensively, he certainly contributed. A couple dunks, and he ran the floor well. He just, there's something about him that makes me go, hey, he's
But this goes back to your original question. The Timberwolves are underrated because people do not give him the credit that he deserves, and he is such a central part of that.
I've always detected just a bit of fake tough guy in him, just like you try to puff up and, flex and come on, stop it, just play. You're
got a little muscles to him.
Yeah, okay, we get it, but hey. He blocks a bunch of shots. He didn't block much last night, but again, he's a force.
And what they gave up to get him and pair him with Karl-Anthony Towns, and you both looked at too big, just like, it's never going to work.
I don't know.
Tim Conley built that team, and he built Denver's team.
Yeah. And speaking of Conley, Mike Conley is the perfect fit for them. If you could put Mike Conley on the Suns, that'd be the kind of guy who could make them go, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.